SGC here, and today's movie review is Stoker. So Stoker has some pretty crazy people behind it, actually. You got the director, who's Park Chan-wook, who directed like the Vengeance trilogy, which is like Sympathy for Mr. Vengeance, Old Boy, and Sympathy for Lady Vengeance. And then you got the producers of the Scott brothers, Ripley and Tony Scott. And then you got Wentworth Miller, who wrote the screenplay, which is whoa. And now that is a pretty, like, just with that, you should just check it out at least. I mean, you got Scott fans who can go, you got, like, Park Chan-wook fans go, Prison Break people might even check it out. But unfortunately, I don't know about the States, but in Canada, it's a totally limited release. I only had 2 theaters playing it, and, that's totally is not cool. We got Mia Wasikowska playing the lead role here. If you don't remember who she is, she's actually Alice in Alice in Wonderland. I haven't seen that, so I can't say anything about her acting. And then we have Matthew Goode, who was Ozymandias in The Watchmen. And you got Nicole Kidman. Nicole Kidman, you should know who that is. So, seeing that it was a limited release, I don't know in the States again, but the 2 theaters that had this playing had Korean subtitles, despite the film being in English. So I don't know what's up with that, but it was sort of distracting, especially the fact that, you know, Korean is pretty big and blocky, so it's like, you gotta look higher into the screen, sort of, so it's not as distracting. So anyway, the plot. The plot is pretty much Nicole Kidman, her husband dies, and then Matthew Goode, who's like the uncle of this family, shows up out of nowhere, and just like pretty much, like, tries to hook up with Nicole Kidman somehow, and tries to hook up with Nicole Kidman's daughter, Mia, at the same time. And that's all I'm gonna say. You have to watch this. It's dark, it's Park Chan-wook, so it's dark. So what did I like about this film? The storyline is sort of like really dispersed out with the whole crazy editing. Park's like editing is like nuts. Sometimes he'll take one whole scene and then he'll play it in different pieces. Like, let's look at the mirror in my washroom, and then the next scene is already like the girl's in the shower, but at the same time the scene after the shower scene is I'm still looking at the mirror. So it's this back and forth thing. It's pretty intriguing and pretty like nice, and totally is Park's like way of directing. And yeah, I totally enjoyed just seeing his style evident here. And there's also these directional point of views. There's people in conversation and they're far apart, and the line of sight is sort of confusing in the sense where like you don't know where this person actually is standing in context to this dialogue. The casting here is pretty nice. I mean, Mia and Matthew, they have the most interaction. Sure, you might go like, I wish Nicole Kidman was in it more, but I think her role was well cast. Like, how she's always bleached white all of the time, and she's just like, really like on the verge of breaking down. Sometimes that's how she looks to me in the movie, and that's how she looks in general to me in all movies. Nicole Kidman was enjoyable for what her role provided. And then we got Matthew and Mia. Their roles are easy to act, you would say, as an audience member, because they're always emotionless and just really hard to read. But I would say that's pretty good acting, because like to make it feel real that this person is emotionless and you don't know what they're feeling is really hard. Because seriously, emotions are really easy to portray with like the eyebrows, nose, mouth stuff. But like to make that totally blank, yeah, good stuff. I just realized doing this review and not talking about the storyline is pretty hard. So, I mean, let's just do visuals. Let me be more general. So, the visuals here are pretty vibrant, like I said, with the director and editing skills. And I, like, enjoyed it. So, pretty much the biggest thing you want this out of this review is probably, like, how does this film compare to his previous, like, films? Especially the Vengeance trilogy. And I must say, this whole storyline feels very Korean-ish, despite the fact that it was actually written by Miller and not a Korean screenwriter. And it's like, yeah, there are things that you really have to think about, like the motivations, and that's pretty much, like, that's where it sort of fails for me. Like, I don't see the motivation behind actions where it's not clearly justifiable. The twists are pretty intense, and, like, I sort of cringed and just like, this is really uncomfortable. Really uncomfortable. But at the same time, the motivation, sort of like when I thought about the movie, it's like, I don't see where he would do or why she would do so much of what they did, sort of thing. So would I recommend this film? I would say check it out for sure if you loved Old Boy, like just love Park's like films and that. You gotta check it out despite it being a limited release. So for normal audience members, I would maybe say you should just check out his Vengeance trilogy first, because I think Stoker is seen as a more artistic, and the storyline is not as justifiable compared to the other things that he's dealing with in his other films. So I would say Stoker, maybe watch it after you get a sense of what Park's direction is, and then proceed to Stoker. Because I think if you start out with Stoker, and this is the first time you witness Park's work, it'll be very different. So, as a Park fan, I totally enjoyed this film. It might not have been on par sometimes with the other three, because I think that he really didn't push it as much as the Korean films. I mean, even with the audience, like, I'm probably thinking that he's not totally sure on what kind of the Western audience is ready for. And yeah, like, with what the Vengeance trilogy dealt with, that's pretty Korean. Yeah. And Stoker is sort of like an artistic style, so I don't know if people are gonna like it as much if this is the first time seeing that Park directed this. So it's sort of like, I would stick with Vengeance and then go to Stoker. As like I said, Stoker is an artistic value, and it's just him sort of like showcasing his skills of like directions and directing. One other thing though, I felt it was very empty in the film because there was no like extras pretty much in any of the scenes. Pretty much you have pretty much your three main cast that really take up most of your screen time. Despite that there are location changes, there weren't any extras, so I guess the whole world felt very empty. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Stoker was enjoyable. Like, I'm glad that I saw Park's work in a theater, because I never seen any of his stuff in theaters because they play in Korea. And yeah, so that is my review of Stoker. See ya.